Sound speed, slate.
Searching for Goodness with Sarah. Hi, welcome to Searching for Goodness. I'm here at CalArts after many years. First of all, can you please introduce yourself
Sure.
to the audience?
I am Sarah. I'm a professional musician and polydisciplinary artist. I know Bessie because we share a history at CalArts as students here. And I'm really pleased to be here to be part of your project.
Moon is out on a stroll, empty cobblestones. Radio sees through subway gray.
I work on music for anything that's helping tell a story. Music for songs, music for film, for theater, for dance. Anything where music, with or without lyrics, is helping tell a story. I'm here with you because we share history at CalArts as students, and really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Our project is called Searching for Goodness. May I ask, what do you perceive as goodness? What's goodness to you, and how can we spread it? How does music and arts help spreading goodness? Lastly, what do you think, how important it is for AI to understand what goodness is?
To me, goodness comes from doing good for others. To me, goodness is a lot about sharing or about service. That sharing doesn't just come from saying, here's my art, but it's also sharing the process of making it. And AI is becoming very frequently a co-author. And I think that in terms of goodness, goodness feels to me like something that's authentic. And when you have AI as a co-author or as a tool to assist in many authentic art making practices, as an example, I think that AI inherently is a less authentic author if we're thinking about art.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're thinking about the sort of intersection, the interplay between AI and goodness, to me, it's a tool to be used with care. And if that tool is used with care and the authenticity of the artists who are working on something to make a difference, to make art, to make a collaboration, if it's done with intent, with, if it's thoughtful, if it's kind, and if it's unkind, if it's motivated by a desire to improve something.
Mm-hmm.
To me, goodness comes from improving something if it's not already good, or from recognizing or celebrating something that is. So I think that all these things can work together. You asked about goodness in art. I think art that tells a story with meaning is very good. I think art that elicits strong feelings is very good. I think art that brings together people on stage or behind the camera or on a stage, on a dance floor in a song, something that's bringing together performers, makers, or audience who wouldn't necessarily otherwise interact is really good. I love the idea of art as an opportunity to do something new. So to me, goodness also comes from newness, right? From trying something new. That's always, to me, a good thing. So,
Definitely.
thank you for the questions.
And so I also think for goodness, who do we do goodness for? For our pets, for our kids, for our families, for our good friends. So we do more goodness for people in our inner circles. So I think it's important for the world to reach a better level of goodness, to see each other more like friends and family with the rest of the world. And I believe music has a very uniting effect on people. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
How does music help?
I think you're absolutely right. I think art can really amplify, literally and figuratively, good feelings, and it can bring people together in a way that maybe spoken language can't, that it can cross boundaries, that it can cross cultures, that it can kind of transcend these usual barriers, but that when people, regardless of their tradition, hear a meaningful piece of music, you and I were speaking about ballads earlier today, or an anthem, that there's something just inherently universal about experiencing music together. And so, music can be harnessed as a sort of power of goodness, as a delivery system, if nothing else. But that there's something really good about being able to communicate and being able to share an experience and share an emotion or an insight with each other that way.
I would like to know what are your thoughts. I have this idea to compose a song and let that song be sang in a lot of different languages, and we're thinking about collaborating on that. how do you think can be good? And first I had like a popular song to do this with, but then I decided the original song will be better. What do you think about music as a musician, as an artist? How can music and arts can get people together, closer?
Demons run long distance through my head whenever they exercise.
We're thinking to make a music together that's going to be in all world languages, be sang in different languages. What do you think the impact of such a song would be in the world?
Well, we've spoken about music being itself a universal language, and I think the notion of bringing people together, not just in the feeling of music, but actually in the words of the story you're telling, of the sentiments you're expressing, is going to be that much more powerful and that much more accessible by having lyrics in many languages. The idea of lifting up young artists is really powerful as well. I'm not just an artist, but an arts educator, and the idea of bringing young people into the project is really powerful to me in terms of incorporating a diversity of perspectives and engaging young artists in this discussion that we're having. And I think that, bringing the music forward in sort of a cornucopia, a collage of different languages, of different voices, is a really, really beautiful way to encapsulate some of the things we've been talking about in terms of goodness coming from sharing and internalizing good feelings, being dedicated to externally making more good happen, is going to be more resonant with an audience that can tap into not just feeling the music, let's say, but in also hearing the words. The words do matter a lot. And so I think doing a many language kind of collage of a song is a really, really great way of bringing together not just the feelings, but the thoughts of the project. I personally write a lot of, like I said, narrative music. As an example, I have an opera premiering this year, and one of the ways we wanted to help spread the message of the project, the meaning of the project, was not only presenting it in the language in which it's sung, which is English, but to translate it into Spanish, translate it into French. And so I love your idea of taking something like this that much further by saying, let's get tons of languages. Let's make this a big cornucopia. So I think it's a really great idea.
We're the ones who lived, we're the ones who tell the stories of those who lost their heads, who lost their lives. In France we set the scene, the French Revolution has copious stories. You know of some, the Reign of Terror took too many lives. You have heard the names Agathe and Robespierre, but do you know the rest? Not Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette, not a Carmelite nuns, not Danton and Desmoulins. There are many, many.
I don't know why I wanted to ask a random question. What do you think of angels? And how can people be more angel-like so we can create a world more heaven-like instead of hell-like with all that's been going on? I mean, angels are also considered as messengers of God. So if we wanted to be more angel-like, how can be the messengers? If you were a messenger, what would you tell the world? Angels are messengers. To be more angel-like, what do you think people can do so we can turn the world from a little bit of a hell right now to heaven?
I appreciate the question. I think the idea of angels being considered messengers is something that is shared among a lot of different cultures. But I like the other thing you said even more about them being a way of sort of lifting people into a happier space. There will always be, I think, some good, some bad, some ugly, some beautiful. And I think that reminding ourselves of the beautiful and of the happy and not forgetting or ignoring the ugly pieces, but not letting them consume us is really important. And so in terms of being more angelic, I think it comes from a place of optimism, without ignoring the other things going on, but just finding the ways to look up, you know. And I think in terms of being more angelic, I think lifting ourselves and people around us up, you know. Competition and other things that are more negative in our world are, I think, unfortunately, to some degree, just sort of inherent in our world. They're always going to be there. But I think knowing that, doing what we can to build each other up, not push each other down, is very important. And so if I were going to try to be a better angel, I would try to find ways to be even more encouraging and empowering of other people. I love the idea of taking that power of being that messenger to lift people up, to share positive energy, to share words of encouragement. I think if I were going to try to be a better angel, a better messenger, a better advocate, we're talking about the art space, be a better collaborator or communicator, it would come from a place of finding even more ways to be encouraging or empowering of other artists, helping them find new opportunities, new solutions, new ways, new spaces to create.
Wonderful.
Ever since the day I met you, I see more sunshine through the clouds.
You know, when we were students here, I don't remember October being this hot. It's getting warmer and warmer. You can definitely feel the climate change and global warming. It's really undeniable. To me, it's as silly as the world is flat. So what are your thoughts on that? As a mom, what do you think people should be doing? What do you think we can do to leave the world in a better condition in terms of global warming and climate change?
We've been talking a lot about ways of finding positivity. We've been talking a little bit about things that are inevitable or not, in or out of balance. I myself have even said in our conversation, some of these things feel inevitable, although they'll always be there. I do think we have an opportunity to bring things into better balance, to bring out more of the good. And I think in terms of climate change as an example, it's very easy to feel very small and perhaps like you can't make a world of difference. But I think leaning into the optimism and the opportunity for even one person, even one project like this project, even one choice to make a difference, to be more than just a drop in the pond, but to have that ripple effect is something that's really powerful to me. So I think in the face of climate change, which we're feeling it, even in this little California sweatshirt, it's not really a good signifier, but it's warm today. And it wasn't this way even 5 years ago, recently. Right. And knowing that, hey, if we each make a couple different choices in our lives, we will help to reverse or at least lessen these impacts is, I think, really powerful. And it's another form of optimism, right? It's about finding the optimism, finding the self-assuredness to keep trying to make those small choices, make those small changes, make those small decisions to try to course correct, if not reverse, then at least to stall climate change or to maybe reduce, not remove, is really powerful.
What's your thoughts on birds? What do you think birds symbolize? And as a musician or as a person, what does birds mean to you?
Well, this is a little personal. My business through which I operate as an artist is actually called Songbird. And for me, I chose that name because birds, similar to what we were talking about, are a pretty universal symbol of delivering news or delivering announcements, delivering the olive branch piece, delivering music. They sing, most of them, quite beautifully. And those who don't, it's, good contrast. But I think that there's a reason that they have persisted in so many cultures as a symbol of music, a symbol of good, of peace, of hope. And so I really appreciate that they are something that, not unlike music, is something that's very, very constantly recognized by people all over the world and across time as a messenger of some of these things we're hoping we should get to share more of.
So with our documentary, our goal is to go to Antarctica. We really want to make it to Antarctica because we actually want to travel the world and all the continents, and Antarctica is the first place I want to go for my first feature film because there's scientists from all over the world, from 70 countries, doing research. It's like finding the entire world in one place, and they're in coexistence with each other. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it makes great sense as a place to conclude or interact with the conversations we're having in your project. Antarctica, as you said, is such a rare sort of anomaly in so many of the narratives of things that are dangerous or things that are falling apart or things that are troubling in the rest of the world. And I think it's sort of it's a retreat. It's a retreat of nature. It's a retreat of people. And finding a space to retreat like that sounds really beautiful. And I will say selfishly in this Southern California heat that the cold does sound pretty good. So I think also, people think of Antarctica, they think of exploration, they think of innovation, because still feels like a sort of an undiscovered place. And I think that as you're looking for people to discover and define and interact with goodness, almost trying to come at it as if we're all discovering it for the first time, that being somewhere like that makes a lot of sense. I think it's a really beautiful choice.
A lot of people think you have to pick either science or spirituality. I personally believe they can work hand in hand together. How do you think science and spirituality can work together?
Yeah, I love this question. I'm somebody who is a strong believer in both. And for me, the strong belief in both comes from, there have been moments in my life where science feels like it has all the answers, but faith fills in a gap. And there are other moments where I question something in terms of faith, but there's something very rational and scientific that helps me lift it up. So not unlike some of the other things we've been discussing, I feel like they coexist and they're almost stronger together than they are separately. And so to me, leaning into both is a source of great comfort. And I think that, tying it back to goodness, that there are things that are very good and beautiful, and there are things that provide me a lot of hope that come from scientific innovation or exploration, but that also, science can reveal something to be dangerous that we thought was safe, as an example. And I think that in faith, it's the same thing. There are things that are very comforting. There are interpretations or expressions of faith that are very challenging, that are very distressing, that are very frightening. And I think that both things used to sort of temper each other is really, really powerful. So the two of them coexisting and, pursuing both things passionately, but with moderation, and letting them be maybe an answer to each other's question is something that gives me a lot of comfort.
I remember reading a few days ago, lift others to their highest potential. So it kind of helps with everything, knowing more about these things and doing the right choices. Every little choice every person makes a difference. Any last thoughts? Anything, how people can follow you and your work?
Sure. Well,
any
I
last
wanted to say thank you for doing this project. I think this is a beautiful way of putting into action everything you're saying about lifting people up and bringing people together. I think so many documentaries are harping on, pardoning a music pun, the drama, the trauma that is lived in the present, in the past, that's predicted for the future. And I think it's really refreshing and exciting that you're putting together a project that is leading into happy things and a lovely thing. So, and if people want to check out my music, see some of the mostly happy, sometimes sad, but I usually try to have there be a silver lining in my projects. So if you want to lead into a little bit of musical optimism, I have a website that links out to lots of different ways to interact with my music and my work. It's my name, sarahvanskyver.com. And thank you for letting me be part of the project. I'm really honored.
Thank you. I'm making my music, most likely, making the music of this project. I hope so.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone for watching. Let's cut.
I'll treasure you forever and a day. I will love you still, together or apart. You've got my heart, and if you're asking who's got you.
Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you, me and Armin. Really happy to have you here today. We're looking forward to see your opera and hear your music and collaborate with you. So, thank you. Thanks for joining our Searching for Goodness. Thanks for joining our Searching for Goodness train.